Privilege. This topic is something that causes discomfort for a lot of people. The definition is a special right, advantage, or immunity available or granted to a particular person or group. I used to think that I didn't have privilege because there were people that were better off than me, but then I went on the first year privilege walk at camp and I realized that there are so many little things that I wouldn't usually think about that give me a privilege, and as they build up, they give a bigger privilege. One of those things is my skin color. This isn't something I chose, and it's not something that's in my control, but it's still there, and that's because of the way that society has been built and the biases that are had. These are things that we need to work on, these mindsets, these societal things. They're built on bias. They're hard to change, but there's something that we must be cognizant of, and we need to try to work towards a system that doesn't inherently favor any one group. In these scenarios with bias and privilege floating around, it's important to be able to be called out, to be told, hey, you might want to think about this before you make this action. It's important to be aware of what other people are going through and where they're coming from. So I want to leave you with, are you checking your privilege? Are you able to be called out?
Presence has really changed recently. It went from, what we all knew it to be, like showing up, going to your desk and sitting down for however long you needed to be there. But now it's a lot harder to bond with other people because you don't really have the free time to talk about common interests. You all had that weird time in class when something's not really happening, so you start talking to the person next to you and you eventually become friends. It's not possible on Zoom. You don't get that face-to-face connection. But, there's not much you can do about it, but, hopefully times are changing again soon away from this, and you can reach back out to the people you were Zooming with and make that connection with them in person, or just text them, or, stuff like that, not on Zoom, but you don't have that just random dead time to mess around with friends. There's no better way to say it, it's difficult, I haven't figured it out. I'll be the first to admit it. Like, this is, out of everything I've done in life, this new reality is probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. Oh, it's crazy, guys. It's a new reality. But we learned how to become leaders at camp and overcome adversity, and we just gotta, be conscious of that every day and use what we learned to our advantage to try and get past these crazy times.
Second year, allyship versus accomplishment. As you may remember, in 2018, NLC's keynote speaker, Brittany Harris, gave us the following challenge: don't just be allies, be accomplices. Dr. Kimberly Hardin and Ty Hardin Moore offer the following definitions of those two terms. Term number 1, ally. Ally means to support. The word itself comes from the Latin word allegare, meaning to bind to. An ally is someone who supports those in which they have a common interest. In terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, ally is an empty buzzword. It takes more than support to make a difference. White people claim to support the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Few, however, are courageous enough to put their own jobs on the line by speaking out against prejudice and discrimination in the workplace. The word accomplice has gotten a bad rap, as it is often equated to wrongdoing. However, when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, accomplices are willing to take the necessary steps to ensure that their workplace is safe from physical, mental, and verbal abuses, such as microaggressions. To be an accomplice, one must be willing to do more than just listen. They must be willing to stand with those who are being attacked, excluded, or otherwise mistreated, even if that means suffering personal or professional backlash. Being an accomplice means being willing to act with and for oppressed peoples, accepting the potential fallout from doing so. Be accomplices.
Being called out. Our third year, privilege, sexism, racism, and an imbalance of space was called out in our class, leading to a week of storming and conversations far more personal and difficult than we had been used to. If we thought we'd finally figured camp out, that camp was finally in our comfort zone, we surely had the memories of mayflies. Through those difficult conversations, we were introduced to something called ouch oops moments. If someone said something that someone else found in some way hurtful or harmful, all they had to say to flag it as an issue was ouch. The person who had been called out responded, oops, to acknowledge that they'd made a mistake and hurt someone. It was a way to ensure that those instances did not go untouched. It may have felt as though our pace had slowed, but in fact, for the first time ever, we were making a joint, concerted effort to make sure no one and no issue was left behind or overlooked for comfort or convenience or speed. Right now, we are undergoing a long overdue national conversation about racism. And when someone takes the time to call you out, apologize and thank them. They are not making a judgment on your soul. It's an ouch oops moment. It's an opportunity for you to have a conversation with yourself about something you might otherwise have blown past for comfort or convenience or speed. I dare all of us to start coming to terms with the reality that we have grown up in a white supremacist country and that unavoidably we hold beliefs and will at some point say or do things that are racist. See that so you can fix that. I dare all of us to embrace the extreme uncomfortability of being called out and use it as a catalyst for growth. If we among the privileged thought we'd finally figured this world out, that it was finally in our comfort zone, we surely had the memories of mayflies.
Take two.
If your world is clouding up and you don't know which path to follow, just come and join us down at the Hollow. 'Cause we won't give up on love. You need not lose your trust. Even when skies get rough, we'll still lift you up, we'll still lift you up. Here on our campground, we'll give you a place to be. Kindness without bounds until 2021. 'Cause we won't give up on love. You need not lose your trust. Even when skies get rough, we'll still lift you up, we'll still lift you up. Though we may not ride that bus to Wonka this June, just trust 1 year ain't got nothing on us. We'll still lift you up, we'll still lift you up, still lift you up.
I've got a hunger, twisting my stomach into knots that my tongue is tied off. My brain's repeating, if you've got